Singapore oil jumped after Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain cut ties with Qatar on Monday, while sterling slipped after the weekend attacks in London that killed at least 7 people and wounded 48, just days before Britain and APO's general national election. The coordinated move by the Middle Eastern countries, accusing the wealthy Gulf Arab state of supporting terrorism, dramatically escalates a simmering dispute over Qatar and APO's support for the Muslim Brotherhood, the WORLD and APO's oldest Islamist movement. Saudi Arabia is the WORLD and APO's biggest exporter of crude oil. Abu Dhabi in the UAE is also a major oil exporter. Qatar is the biggest supplier of liquefied natural gas, LNG, and a major seller of condensate, a low-density liquid fuel and refining product derived from natural gas. Global benchmark Brent LCOC1 advanced 1.1% to $50.48 a barrel. U.S. oil CLC1 also climbed 1% to $48.17. Sterling British pounds equals D3 fell as much as 0.3% before paring the losses to trade down 0.2% at $1.2868 on Monday. Attackers rammed a van into pedestrians on London Bridge on Saturday and then stabbed revelers in nearby bars. Police shot dead 3 male assailants in London and APO's Borough Market within 8 minutes of receiving the first emergency call and have since detained several people. But British stocks. FTSE are unlikely to see much adverse impact from the third terrorist attack in the country in as many months, with financials spread better CMC markets expecting the FTSE 100. FTSE, which touched a record high on Friday, to open slightly higher. Prime Minister Theresa May said THURSDAY and APO's election would go ahead as planned. May is expected to resume campaigning on Monday. Polls now show the election is much tighter than previously predicted. A close election could throw Britain into political deadlock just days before formal Brexit talks with the European Union are due to begin on June 19. And today and tomorrow, I am guessing that sterling will move in a range ahead of the UK election, as I think no one can accurately forecast the outcome, said Masashi Murata, currency strategist for Brown Brothers Harriman in Tokyo. And Brexit has taught us not to believe polls and not to take aggressive positions ahead of UK events. And France and Germany are closed for a holiday on Monday. GERMANY and APO's DAX. GDAXI touched an all-time high on Friday. MSCI and APO's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan. MIAPJ0000PUS reversed earlier losses to climb 0.1%. JAPAN and APO's Nikkei. And 225 also added 0.1% as the yen surrendered some of its gains. Chinese shares. CSI 300 fell 0.5%, with news of service sector activity rising in May at the fastest pace in 4 months failing to lift sentiment. Australian shares slid 0.8% and South Korea and APO's KOSPI. KS11 was little changed. Taiwan shares. TWE bucked the trend, hitting their highest level since 2000 for a second straight session and last trading up 0.5%. The dollar index. DXY, which tracks the greenback against a basket of 6 major peers, was up 0.1% at 96.82 after sinking on Friday to its lowest level since the U.S. presidential election in November. U.S. non-farm payrolls increased 138,000 in May, severely undershooting the forecast of 185,000, suggesting the labor market was losing momentum despite the unemployment rate falling to a 16-year low of 4.3%. The number of jobs created in March and April was also revised down. The dollar gained 0.2% to 110.67 yen. JPY equals D4 after losing 0.8% on Friday. The U.S. 10-year Treasury bond yield recovered to 2.1695 on Monday, having plunged from THURSDAY and APO's close of 2.217 before the jobs data was released. And the reaction in the 10-year yield implies that the market sees a third rate hike in 2017 as diminishing, although still a very real possibility. And James Woods, global investment analyst at Rivkin Securities in Sydney, wrote in a note. The euros equals EBS fell 0.2% to $1.1264 on Monday, holding on to most of FRIDAY and APO's 0.6% gain. On Friday, all three major Wall Street indexes DJI, SPX, IXIC hit all-time highs, with gains in technology and industrial stocks more than offsetting the subdued jobs report. Gold's Dow rose to a 6-week high on Monday, driven by the weaker dollar. It was last steady at $1,280.24 an ounce.